folks, to another episode of Pints and Brown Envelopes. And this week we've got current captain of Carrick Rangers, 𝑠ℎ𝑢𝑟𝑔𝑦, on the phone. 𝑠ℎ𝑢𝑟𝑔𝑦, how are we doing?
All good. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much for coming on, agreeing to do it.
No problem.
So you were saying to me there earlier, you've just started back to pre-season then?
I not really started back. I sort of just get together.
Yeah.
And we'll probably maybe meet up every other week between now and when we get the go-ahead for the start of the season. So, but last night was good. Just then played a wee match and get everyone together. But it just, I think it lets us know how you can only do so much running.
Yeah.
And keep them fit. But when you actually come to a match, it's a totally different game. So that was good.
That's it.
That's good.
Yeah. Terms for things, do you have an idea, like a date that you're aiming for or anything, or is it just as much as everybody else in the open, really?
I think that was totally up in the air.
Yeah.
It's a guessing game. Some people are saying it could be into the autumn, it could be October, it could be end of September. Some people say it could be sooner, but my understanding is that the Irish League clubs just don't want to play unless there's a crowd, unless the fans can come in. So yeah. I don't see, and I can't see how it's feasible for clubs to go back until there's actually a fan base come through the gate and generate some revenue. So yeah, it's without even the other last season's not even completed yet with the Irish Cup. Until it's out of the way, I don't think you can start planning for next season. So I dare say the ball might start rolling a bit more whenever the Irish Cup's out of the way.
Yeah, it's understandable too. The clubs, how they're meant to survive week by week without the gate revenue or people spending behind the bar and things like that. I just don't think it's feasible for forking out for referees, linesmen, and your case for officials now too.
We probably see it more from Carrick's point of view, and Carrick being the size of club they are in the league, they don't have the money to spend out, and obviously we have a very small budget compared to other teams. So if it's not feasible for us, it's definitely not feasible for other clubs in the league. And fair enough, I like, and one reason why a lot of people do play in the Irish League is you do get that media coverage, you do get the fan base, and it is a buzz on a Saturday. So I would miss that personally. So I agree, whenever it takes the fans to come back, and just hold off until then. There's no biggie, we've been it so long now, what's the next month going to be, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's it, man. But we'll get started anyway into your career then, Mark. So where did it all begin for you football-wise?
It's funny, I was thinking this last night, Mark, and you sort of gave me a few pointers. Yeah. I don't remember a lot about youth football. I do remember, obviously primary school, yes. Then there was a team, Mitchell, under 12s we were, just on the Woodside Road at the Mitchell Factory. But training was literally the absolute legend that he was, Wallace Russell, usually sitting aside on a seat and keep a score while we all played five-a-sides on a gravel pitch.
Yeah.
We played a match on a Saturday. I think I played under 14, Mitchell as well, but I don't remember anything past that. So it's funny, like football for me was never the be-all, end-all. Wasn't ever a dream, or wasn't ever like growing up. I went to school, didn't play football, so I played cricket, rugby, badminton, whatever was going, and football came as a sort of secondary. I did go and train, do one night a week, and I would have played on a Saturday if I didn't have a rugby match or whatever else was going on. So it wasn't, I didn't grow up absolutely dedicating my life to rugby or dedicating my life to football. Sorry, I sort of played rugby's my Saturday, and then in the summer I played cricket or whatever else, and I liked that. I still loved football, still watched football, mad Liverpool fan, but it wasn't the be-all, end-all for me. I know people have a lot of dreams when they grow up, want to be professional footballer, want to do this, want to do that. I loved the game, I loved everything about it, but it wasn't the be-all, end-all. So I don't think I played under 16 football. I think I just, whenever I left school, I went straight to play for Braid in the Ballymena Saturday Morning League. I think we're in the second division when I was maybe 16, 17. And I just sort of all kicked on from there and really snowballed from Braid within a couple, 3-4 years maybe.
Yeah. So terms for like Braid and that, a 16-year-old, what's it like going into Saturday Morning League? Was that an eye-opener then, just if you haven't been playing much football or that before?
Well, obviously they're the pitch up in Bersham where I live, like I'd have went and watched Braid or Race Few who was playing on a Saturday, and that when you took your home football with, you kicked about the side of the pitch. You know, he loved that big pitch up there and always wanted to play on it. So never got a chance to play for Braid. I played for them and loved it. An absolute great bunch of fellas, like all from the village or not too far away. And good bunch of lads, socialised together, played football together, in them every other day, you know, the street, and it was good. And loved playing for them. Some great memories of playing for Braid. I think the night we actually got promoted into the first division, I was still at Teg, and remember going out, went to the Thatch after we got promoted, and I had a couple of beers, I don't even know how many beers, it wouldn't be taking too much to make me a bit tipsy. And I remember the next day I had an assessment for golf at Teg to play with 𝐿𝐿 𝐒𝐿𝐿 at 𝐿𝐿. It was a rugby day, a real rugby day. But no, I loved it. Was great bunch of fellas, and it ranged from everything from boys that were, you know, mad keen on football, killers who were, you know, were moving the way out, you know, a goalkeeper Andy McLean, nightmare. And Andy played Irish League football, and he said to me that Andy was 35, 36, and he was worth a goal or 2 goals every game. And Andy said to me, Sergey, I'm retiring next year. I said, Andy, you can't do that. You can't just retire. Like, look how good you are for us. And he says, Mark, it's not about the play. And he said, I'll not recover until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and have kids and stuff. And I thought, this man hasn't a clue. Just how bad could it be? I now know what Andy was talking about then. I now know what that means. You don't recover until the Tuesday or Wednesday. And he was dead right. You know, there's no point of playing on. There's no point of going past the stage where your life's just now going to be a cripple. But no, loved Braid. And then when I was at Braid, I think I signed for Chimney Corner when I was 18. But at that time, you could play in the morning and afternoon. So I was playing in the morning for Braid and Chimney Corner in the afternoon. And Shade tried to put a stop to that, and he did, and I didn't play as much. And I think I definitely did. And then I left Chimney Corner after about a year and a half, went back to Race Few for 6 months, and played in the afternoon for Race Few, and played in the morning for Braid.
Yeah.
And then did I go back to Chimney Corner? And then I went to Ballymena with 𝐿𝐿 𝐒𝐿𝐿. But again, people talk about, I know people could rhyme off every match they've played in and name the team list of both teams. But I am shocked when it comes to remembering even my football career, who I've been with. I can tell you the teams, but what years, I haven't a clue. 𝐿𝐿𝐿, ex-Carrick manager, Ballymena player, honest to God, could tell you the score of every game he's played in, who the opposition were, and who played in his team, what goals were scored. They tell you what minute the win was in. Unbelievable. And I sometimes sit and go, dude, why can I not remember even anything about my football? I don't know what it was. It's never been the be-all, end-all. I've loved it, and I'm very passionate about it, but it's just never took over my life. But so Braid, few years, loved it. Chimney Corner, loved it. Back to Race Few. I left Chimney Corner after 2.5 years, went back to Race Few for 6 months, then left Race Few and went to Ballymena. And that was sort of a couple of years there, then moved on up to Ballymena.
So the Chimney Corner periods, that's when I had met you. Shay had asked me to come in and train me when I was a kid, as 15 or 16 or that. But we were starting to bring the youth element down to it, and you would help the soccer school and things like that there. So you had like 100 odd kids or that, but they always buzzed because you were coming down just to do the actual.
I had totally forgotten about that. Totally forgotten. Yeah. The best thing about it was Shay used to take us for breakfast in the Allen Park Golf Club.
Yeah.
And we had a fry, and then went and coached, and then played in the afternoon. I totally forgot all about that. Oh, that was mental. It was just chaos, but I loved that. And it's funny, I was saying to a fellow the other day, and even I teach, and you talk about, even you saying the young kids come to see someone that plays for Chimney Corner first team. Like, in a lot of people's eyes, it's Chimney Corner, though, and at that time it was Championship 2, I suppose. Yeah. But that was for a lot of kids to see, Cheekers as a first team player, that's who I want to be. You know, for young lads at that age, even school, you see it, there's a football match on in school, like from Monday to Friday, the match was on a Friday, that's the World Cup, up on Friday. You don't understand how much kids buy into actually seeing who they would call heroes, and yet sometimes we as players take it for granted that we're only there to play a game of football. But no, they were super days. Remember that? That's crazy you brought that back to me. And Dom as well. He had helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Well, youth set up. And what's Chimney Corner's youth set up like now, Mark? Is it?
To be fair, we're flying. We're from under sixes, under sevens up to under 15 now.
Well, that was probably what got the ball rolling.
It was.
No doubt. It's a great
we got it. That was what got it. 𝐿𝐴 got it, sort of brought it down to Chimney Corner, because we were always the outside of that. But when we had a load of teams when we came across with 𝐿𝐴, but we scrapped a load of teams and then just started again. And this is now the new batch of it. So they're all playing decent enough standards for Lisburn League and things like that for a few. And for a couple of teams, there's 2 11-a-side sides and then 9-a-side, 7s, 6s. It's thriving. You know, the kids team too were, well, Dom, he takes the disability team as well. So we've got a lot of that going.
Super.
First team, and then this year we've now got a development team under 20 sort of thing for the reserves. So hopefully going the right direction. You got the ball rolling for us, Sergey.
I'm not going to take the credit. A wee bit of credit, not too much, but I totally forgot all about that. That was brilliant. I think I got an extra fiver for doing it.
In terms of working under 𝐿𝐴 and like Joe McCall, then did you feel that they had set you up well to get a move to the Premiership then?
At the time, probably didn't recognise it, but like working under 𝐿𝐴, complete football man, like, you know, just everything totally took over 𝐿𝐴's life was football and family. But he was such a knowledgeable person. He'd been at Ballymena before then. He'd come down, and you know what he was working with, you know, shoestring and just trying to bring players down that he knew and get players involved and players pulling out on him. But for what we had and for what Chimney Corner had came from, a great old B division side, and won trophies and a really competitive side, to something that had to start from scratch again as such. Like 𝐿𝐴, he done his best for what he had. He brought in the right coaches and he never missed training. And we had a decent wee side at Chimney Corner, and a very, very homely side. Like I loved it. I remember Sydney was the groundsman.
Yeah.
Remember Sydney still alive?
No, Sydney died there.
No.
Maybe 3-4 years back, so I did.
Like an absolute legend. Remember, you know, just he felt like part of the team. You know, he'd come in, you'd have gurned at him and slabbered at him and kept him going. And Anne and 𝐿𝐴 𝐒𝐿 were in the bar when they were out after the match. I loved it. I remember going down to Derby one day, and I think we're reversing this absolute banger of a bus into the car. It was Derby, and it was. And the flipping people shouting to the bus driver to slow down, and he was up against this big metal peel, and next minute the back window went in, and there's like so many great memories. And Pam, my wife, still now, she used to go down and watch, like, go on the away trips, and after the match, and they'd have been half glittered, and you know, beers in the bus on the way home. Oh, it was great. I loved it. I could go through that whole team. You know, we Bimba and Nets. Remember like Bimba too? Yeah,
what keeper?
Such a good keeper, like, and big lad but really agile, and Gaz and Cha and wee Kevin, Chrissy Wilkinson. And I'd played with Chrissy sort of under 12s at Mitchell, maybe under 14s at Mitchell as well. But Chrissy played at Chimney Corner, and his mum and dad obviously Anne and Hugo. But Chrissy was my best man at my wedding there 7 years ago, and that's 8 years ago. And that's sort of where me and Chrissy really became really friendly. So I have so many great memories from Chimney Corner. Jim Taggart, absolute legend, angry man. Arnie, wee Junior, Mark McClintock, you know, it was a real good bunch of lads. At that time, we were such a close knit. But then, I'm not even sure people started leaving, or 𝐿𝐴, just his heart wasn't in it anymore. Then I sort of moved away and took a step back to race few. And for 6 months, then Joe got in touch with me, and Joe was my tech teacher.
Yeah, he's mine too.
Bar Lodge. And Joe said to come up and give it a blast. So I went up to Ballymena, and Joe, even though what he was working with at Ballymena, Joe's real professional in what he does and everything he does. And himself and Sammy McVicker up there ran a really tight ship, and like and at that time, people might not have known it, but Joe had high aspirations for the club. And Ballymena is a great setup, a really well-run clubhouse, wee bar and stuff. Just couldn't get the people through the door. Sort of competing with Cleave at that time in Ballymena, but we had a smashing side at Ballymena. We got promoted into the Championship, which we now Championship 1. And we give it a real bash. At the time, Portadown were in it. Ballymena, I think, got promoted the year we were in it. But we had, again, a really good side. I'm trying to think. Like Simon Smith, we had in net, who had played for Corian previously. We had the Gauges, David Gauge, Denver Gauge, Gareth Hill, Gavin Gilmore. Owen Hudson was there. We fella Adam McKinney. You're playing against Adam McKinney, no?
Don't know. Maybe not to see.
Great.
Was a wee lad Franny? Was he there at that stage?
He was coming through a wee bit. His big brother Jared would have played more so. We had a really good side. Michael McQuitty come up. We had a decent side. Like James McLaughlin, who's now at Korean, was only a kid. He was thereabouts at the time. But Joe had run a really tight ship. Like Stephen Tully, absolute legend of a man, and just kept the change room going at all time. We just a good mix. Neil Gordon was there. But at that time, we felt, I think that year, the best finish was 4th in that Championship 1, which was no mean feat where Ballymena are now.
Yeah, big.
And I think it was maybe 2.5 years into my 2.5 years, and Joe come up and said to me, "Mark, Crusaders want to speak to you."
Right.
And I said, "That's fine." Sort of. I think I was first year at uni, 2009. Yeah, and no, second year. And he says, "Crusaders want to speak to you. Do you want me to pass on your number? Is that okay?" And I said, "Yep, of course it is." And I got Stephen Baxter rung me. That was the time Crusader were just sort of coming to the fore. They'd sort of established themselves, good side. And I spoke to Stephen Baxter and agreed to go and speak to him at 𝐿𝐴 one day in uni. So I left uni, went down to speak to him. Had a good chat. Loved it. Wanted to sign. My only concern was McGowan and Colin. I was signed as a centre half. McGowan and Colin coach were there, and I was never going to move those two. Garth McKeown was right back. Stephen McBride was left back. I started thinking, where am I going to play here? I went home that night, and then literally that evening, Roy Walker rang me, and obviously myself and Stephen are good friends, and he said, "Look, Mark, I believe you were talking to Crusaders. Do you mind coming and have a chat?" So I rung Stephen back that night to say I was going to go and chat to Ballymena. Whenever Roy rung, it was like, this was your dream to go and play for Ballymena. Like whenever I was younger, I was a Ballymena fan, still am, but I went in to watch 𝐿𝐴 and Johnny Speak and Nigel Boyd and Mark Carlisle and run onto the pitch and getting autographs and stuff like that. So I was a Ballymena fan. So whenever they rung, I was happy days. Or Roy rung. So whenever I spoke to Roy, I was like, it's a no-brainer. And then I rung Stephen. He said, "Well, I would have done exactly the same as what you done if I had a chance to play for my hometown team." So there was no issues there.
It was an easy enough move to make then, just once that phone call came.
There's no doubt. Rung mum and dad, rung Pamela. It's just like, couldn't believe this was going to happen. And I was buzzing for it. And then made that move. And it was at the beginning. It was seamless. It was step up was tough.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did you notice much so did you come from Championship 1 then, or was Ballymena in Championship 2?
Championship 1, Ballymena were.
Right,
the step up, physicality-wise, again, I was signed as a centre half. But the time I signed, big Albert Watson, at the time Albert Watson and Craig McLean, I think the year before, they were linked with moves down south or something. I don't know what it was, or linked the moves away from the club. But maybe it was 2 years before that with Craig. But Albert, anyway, they had Albert train with the reserve team. Something had happened. So I was going down to train, just signed, got my squad number, walking down past the reserve training. And there's like Albert Watson, who one of the most appearances ever for Ballymena, training with the reserve. And I was like, surely I'm not coming to replace him, because I couldn't. Now when the season started, Albert and I played a bit together. I think someone's seen since, and Albert was back in the team. But I just not. It wasn't a massive jump, just physicality, just much bigger men as opposed to championship at that time. There's young fellas coming through and young fellas on loan and things like that. There, the step up, it didn't really faze me as such. I was looking forward to the challenge more, and again, I thought I really enjoyed it. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 was Roy Walker's number 2 at the time.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of a man. If you've ever met 𝐿𝐿𝐿 or worked under 𝐿𝐿𝐿 or any coaching courses 𝐿𝐿𝐿's ever taken, like he was an absolute, God rest his soul, like, but he's an absolute gentleman and an absolute football scholar.
Yeah.
The carry of him, but he was there, and that really helped me as well, because he was one. 𝐿𝐿𝐿 could have phoned me every other Saturday night after a game just to talk about how things went, and that made me one of those arm around the shoulder type jobs.
Yeah, comfortable.
Yeah.
Terms for working with like Sir Roy Walker as well, what was he like then?
Amazing speaker. Team talks, sometimes a bit here, doing quotes and phrases from everything, books, and a smart man, but they got changing him, wasn't smart changing him. So our boys are steam coming out the ears, don't know what he's talking about. But he got people playing. Roy, he had a tough time, and sometimes the pressure at Ballymena. Roy had his whole life to come back to Ballymena, moved house towards Ballymena. And a great man. I think in the end, after 𝐿𝐿𝐿 actually left to go to 𝐿𝐿𝐿. At that time, 𝐿𝐿𝐿, somebody couldn't turn down, and Roy brought in Terry Moore. I don't know if you met Terry Moore. Terry would be a bit of coaching. He played the World Cup for Canada. Not sure. Okay. But that didn't help Roy at that time, in my opinion. Terry was quite an arrogant man, and a lot of the squad I felt as if it was flipped from Roy couldn't be bad cop and number 2 be good cop. That good cop, bad cop thing, I felt as if Roy was trying to defend Terry a lot.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think the team didn't down tools in any way, but the results weren't coming. People weren't happy, and in the end, it was Roy that sort of his head was on the block.
So Roy loses it then, and then Glenn Ferguson comes in. Is that right?
Right, comes in, yeah. Gives a pace of boost, brings Norman Kelly and Lee Dog in with him, 2 great fellas. Got the ball rolling. I think they had a great start to that season. We maybe win our first 5 or something. Thought it was going to be an absolute dream. And Spike came in, and things were going really well. We had a great team, good side, probably underachieved under Spike. But Spike was, what I loved about Spike, see when you're doing drills and training, you put the ball into the box, somebody heads over the bar, and Spike would stop training and say, look, here's what I want, put the ball into the box. And when Spike headed the ball, there was a louder noise than anyone kicking the ball. Or like, when he was doing a shooting drill, I wanted to give you the example. You could tell he sort of took pride in showing you, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Times I was going, Jesus, the guy is, he headed the ball as hard as anybody could pass the ball. So he had that respect from, I guess, Spike Ferguson. And Spike was close to the group. He was one of the, not a lad's lad, but Spike he liked to be part of the group and liked the banter, and so did Norman, so did Doug. You're talking about boys who have played numerous times for Linfield, not to mention across the water, and Doug played for Northern Ireland, so they were well respected when they came in. And when they left also, but it's just, they brought a fresh sort of challenge to us all, and everyone lifted their game, but then it just sort of reverted back to type. And sort of one of them was just underachieved.
I spoke to just who you're talking about, Spike doing in training sessions and things like that. I was speaking to Mark Kelly on the podcast, and he was saying basically Spike could have still played
easily.
He said he was still touch of class. Like.
Under Walker, we played against Distillery, and Spike was playing for Distillery, and I was playing centre half. Now he wasn't as mobile, but like, see if the ball was played into him, like, literally his back. People don't. I would always think, professional footballers, it's their physique. You can tell, like, even in England, that's just so. You touch me, going, is that human? Spike was like that. His back was mad. His back was the size of that door. And he never jumped for a header. He just sort of held you up. Now, everybody, not just me, I was slight, but Spike very rarely went and jumped for a header. He just got himself set, arm out, and passed the ball with his head. And like, from throw-ins into his feet, his touch was unreal. It's just, I was amazing. His mobility was down, but there's times he played in league games, you're going, jeez, unbelievable. Really, really good. And Spike could have went across the water many a time. But I think it's certain things in life with family and stuff just came at the wrong time. I think it's been signed for Red Bull Salzburg in Austria.
Really?
And everything agreed to go, and then just knocked it in the head for, I can't actually remember the reason. I think it was family. Maybe Matthew was, I'm not too sure. I think there was a reason, family reason why he didn't go. But he was amazing, and a nice man too.
Yeah. In terms of the season itself, under ups and downs, but you delivered the first trophy then for Ballymena in 23 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead, mate.
No, that was got to the final. Myself and Gavin, Alan Jenkins was injured and he only come back from injury, and he was in the bench. And Gabby and I started, and we hadn't really played that much together because Jenkins was always your mainstay in the middle of the park. And we were super that night, really, really good. Went to penalties. I could be making this up as like a Roy of the Rovers. I was sixth penalty taker. It was one of those never Spike asked me what to hit a penalty. I find them. But the whole thing came back to me. Ballymena have won a trophy in so many years. Sergio, you missed this penalty. It's like you're going to get absolute, hammered in the town as an absolute choker. You can't go. And the more I thought about it, went down to if Alan Davis had missed his penalty, I was going to the next penalty taker. So I just put myself even more in the hot seat. And I was like, that's one of those hands up there. I'll take a penalty yourself. And amazing night. Loved it. Penalties were just the whole crowd going mad. But you asked about the night. You spoke about earlier on maybe what was the night like after it. I was in school the next day. I was teaching. I know, and it was brutal when I look back on it now. Like, a lot of them went to the Welly Park. No, was it the Welly Park in East Belfast for a drink after it? And I had a couple of beer after, but I had to go straight down the road. It was like a Tuesday night or something.
It's Monday or Tuesday night.
I'm absolutely didn't sleep that night at 4 o'clock in the morning, lying in bed, just absolutely couldn't wait for somebody to ask me about the match next day.
Medal around your neck.
There's people like Ferguson probably give those medals away to people, like going I couldn't handle them. And my head is going to the World Cup. So that's you're trying to be cool about it as much as but at the same time, amazing. And that was the first thought in my head. Like Ballymena hadn't won a trophy since '89.
Yeah.
Right. 89 the Irish Cup. And that's the first trophy. That seems such a long time, but that was the first trophy of Spike's, a very good cup run he had at Ballymena.
Yeah. That's it. It was when it was going through the questions prepping this, Spike did have runs in most of the cups, didn't he? So the League Cup thing, he got a run in it, then Irish Cup as well. He got to the final of it.
That's a killer for me, the Irish Cup.
Yeah.
Not a killer. Dory Thompson got injured quite a while before the final. And Spike had said to me, 4 games before the end of the season, you'll play in the Irish Cup final. Kieran Martin played for Glenafton that time, just a big leggy midfielder, loved making late runs. He said, that's your job, just match him up. I didn't play the last few matches of the season, just in terms of resting for the Irish Cup final. And then when he came and named the team, I put Gary Thompson, I think, training the Thursday night before the Irish Cup final. That was his first training session in months. Maybe trained the Tuesday, but he hadn't trained fully. Yeah. But Spike loved Gary, and I love Gary too. Great footballer, great energy. But I just felt in the final, I thought I was going to be playing, and not to start that, an absolute dagger through the heart. That was the beginning of the end for me at Ballymena. You couldn't have won it. You still don't feel as if you were totally part of the occasion. And it's funny, on that, Gary Thompson actually sent off after 27 minutes. They went 1-0 up, back. Are we 1-0 up, or are we there? Sorry, they come back to 1. Gary went for a tackle over his head, and he sort of stretched for it a bit and caught one of their players, and they had a man sent off earlier, so the ref evened it up. And I sort of thought to myself, if Gary had been fit, would he have made that tackle? I don't know. But that pissed me off even more. So
Yeah.
here and there.
Terms for, like you mentioned him already, but the big man Alan Jenkins, what was he like in the change room then for you?
First class.
It's the proper
a lovely fella. Just a good fella, a winner. Jenks played for Gretna in the Scottish Prem.
Yeah.
He, a lot of pedigree, but just a top fella. Very unassuming, loved football, spoke to everyone, got on with everyone, and on the pitch, very underrated. I think Jeffrey's tried to sign him for Linfield a few times from Ballymena, but it suited Ballymena suited Jenks very well. Just a nice big fella who was very underrated, but an absolute engine, did not stop. And try to drive people on. I felt Jenks took a lot of the pressure from what was going on at Ballymena whenever things weren't going well.
Yeah.
And that did affect him. Things like that did affect. If we lost, he was down. And I always thought, I ended up 2 miles into Basheen here at Jenks, had to go home on a boat and sit and dwell over everything that went on that day if things didn't go well. But every occasion, I remember the nights we played Crusaders one night and it was snowing. And Jenks and 𝐄𝐏𝐈𝐒𝐃𝐄 went to get the boat in 𝑠ℎ𝑢𝑟𝑔𝑦, and the boat was cancelled. And the two of them had to fly down the road to get to Glasgow airport, get a flight over, and they arrived 5 minutes after kickoff. And both went on the bench and come on at half time to play 45 minutes football and then wait to see how they're getting home. So the commitment levels, people think these people come from Scotland or anywhere else. They're not committed. You couldn't have met a more committed person than Alan Jenkins. That rubbed off. That's why he was the skipper of the team. That's why it rubbed off on the rest of the players. He was an absolute gentleman and a great footballer.
In terms of Mark, so you did touch on it there. Basically, the Irish Cup was the beginning and the end of that with Ballymena. So the move to Carrick, then how did you have other clubs lined up or?
No. The end of Ballymena. The last 6 games, that's 5, and the split happened. When I speak about this, obviously it's not. Every manager has a favourites. You coach, and if you're putting your best team out on a Saturday, you know your best team, regardless of training, regardless of what's happening. You know your best team. And Spike had his best team in his head. I felt in my last year, maybe before that, I wasn't part of that, and I know I wasn't part of it. I had to be for an injury or somebody gets suspended, or he brought me on as a sub. And that affected me. Like you're feeling lonely sitting on the bench, or you're coming on and your heart's not in it. Going to training knowing you're not going to start. And the last 5 games he played me the 5 games, I scored 3 goals from centre midfield. And there's a thing come out in the Ballymena Times or Guardian, maybe both, that late form, the headline backstage, late form won't save players' contracts or something. I might as well wrote Mark Surgenor, late form won't save Mark Surgenor in my head. So when at the end of the season, Spike brought us in for contract talks and said, like, Mark, I feel as if, we want to go a different direction. And I wasn't fine with that at the time. I was absolutely seething. I wanted to turn around and argue with him. I just thought to myself, there's no point. And I said to him, Spike, I've known that already because of what was in the paper. So no, that wasn't just aimed specifically at you. And I thought, don't argue with it, just go up. You're not going to argue I'm not going to stand there and tell Spike, you're wrong. He's going to say, don't know what, Mark, you're right, I am wrong. Do you want another 2-year contract? That wasn't going to happen. So I thought, just leave. So I left Sour Grapes, but looking back now, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. If I had signed another 2-year contract or a year and not played, that would have been the end of my career. So in a roundabout way, Spike probably saved my playing career by saying, go and get a new challenge. That's what he said to me, go and get a new challenge, get out of here. And it worked. So Gary here went straight on the phone up to Carrick. No, Niall Curry was straight on the phone. He was at Ards at the time. Right. Niall, it was funny whenever I signed for Carrick, whenever Niall signed for Carrick, he said, finally, we'll get to play manager player. And he pestered me for 2 or 3 years. And he's a hard man to say no to. I'm a really hard man to say no to. We're talking phone calls here every 2 minutes. But the guys said, come up to Carrick, Sergi, and I knew guys coming up, signed for Carrick. No brainers, came back into playing football. Didn't think I would like it as much as I really did, but absolutely loved it.
See, the first season that you went with Carrick, then, are you still in the Premiership or are you in Championship?
That was Carrick's first year up.
Yeah.
Missed the team. They did the treble in the championship.
Yeah.
The Suns or won the league and intermediate cup or something, I think it was. So they come up and then Gaz was just looking to strengthen experienced players. Well, again, amazing. We're still actually in a WhatsApp group, that team from that year. Great blend of players.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, not all thrown together, because a lot of the nucleus of the squad that won the treble was still there, but it's a lot, like so many different personalities. It's unbelievable. The crowd that was in that change room was great banter and great crack.
Yeah.
Although I think we had a better squad, when you look at the players we have now and where they are now, you know, we had Bam Neeson, our keeper, with Doyler, who's now at Glenavon, Aaron Trainer, who's at 𝐿𝐴, Aaron Smith stayed with Carrick, Aaron Harmon's at Glenavon, Conor McCluskey's at Glenavon. You know, we had players, Barry Johnson was there, obviously, was going on in years.
Yeah.
You know, with Miguel Chines, who scored goals wherever he went. Pain in the arse, but scored goals wherever he went. Didn't like doing much from him, but what a goal.
Yeah.
You know, we had players all about that squad that we maybe shouldn't have left it as late as we did. But what an occasion that was, the last day of the season.
Yeah, so that game, you scored in it as well, didn't you?
I scored in the 89th minute, a header,
Yeah.
and then Maggie's overhead kick. The whole place just went mad. Now, that was the night we celebrated.
Yeah.
That night we went down to the Swift and Carrick. I had my car down. I had to ring mum and dad to say, like, come up and get my car because there's no way I'm driving home. And it was amazing. Oh, it was one of those you think you're going to be involved in one of those games. You know, just Aaron Trainer popping up the back post, your left back, heading it back across, and then Maggie's overhead kick, Ben Roy's cross. It was just, I'll never forget that. I still watch it up on my Facebook. Sometimes it'd be memories.
Yeah.
I'll always watch it back. That match could have been dead and buried beforehand. And I always remember 𝐌𝐿𝐴 Anderson, his face when we scored, sort of a camera panned round to him. And it was just a broken man, as if, what's going on here? But no, amazing. What a night.
And in terms for going into that game then, did you think, like, we will get a result here, or was it shitting it, or?
We were a confident side. Like we were shitting. There's no doubt. And then we went 1-0 down, and then they had another great chance. Big ball, they had a fella played up front. Can't mind his name. Sort of went down sort of round the clubs. He went through and absolutely scuffed one. Then we, I think I died. No, I didn't die for the free kick, but a very soft free kick. And then went up. It's funny, the linesman. I headed it in, and the linesman was going to put his flag up. Dan Kelly was in front of me, who was offside. This is before then, I think, that rules in place that you have to be the person affecting play. Yeah. I scored that header, and then what followed that was just mayhem. After we scored the equaliser, we definitely thought we were going to get the second. Which it's a bittersweet year, though. Gary left that year too. And then that was the start of the merry-go-round at Carrick with managers. I must have played on the same manager at Carrick, 6 maybe.
Really? So after that, it was McAlinden, wasn't it? It was David McAlinden?
No, it wasn't. I guess I'm absolutely useless at remembering things. The Harding came in.
Yes, that's right.
And Kieran left after half a season, and Aaron Callahan, ex-Crusaders manager, came in. Ex-Crusaders player, came in. Fell from down south, and that was the year we got the League Cup final. Yeah, it was. We got the League Cup final that year, and we beat the playoff to stay up. Stupid. 1 point. I get used to that there. We had signed. I see, remember stuff. I should remember stuff like that. I don't ever remember it with football. We signed the wee boy Fabio O'Brien. He played for Glenavon.
Glenavon, wasn't it?
I remember he wore the short sleeves with gloves. I put my head around this. This was absolutely baffling me, why you're wearing short sleeves with gloves. And I always thought, this fella's not right in the head. He signed for us. Absolute legend of a fella. Gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, great lad. And like so down to earth. I thought, right, short sleeves with gloves. Always wants to make a statement, whatever he does in life. But no, totally wrong. But we signed him sort of second half of the season. I can mind one of in the playoff final. It was Stuart, wasn't it? He dinked the keeper with a penalty. I was so confident. He looked about 27, but he was about 37. He'd been around the block, played a lot down south. But he dinked the keeper. And I was running to celebrating with him, going like, I was so cross with him. What was your that? But yeah, I was still like going ballsy. Like balls was saying, there's no way I'm doing that there. Just dinked them down the middle. That was actually the difference of us staying up and going down. So we stayed up that season. But again, Aaron left, the manager left after the League Cup final and left his assistant manager in charge. Forget his name. Great fella. And he stayed up with us. We stayed up in the league. We thought then he might get the job, but he didn't. And then Davy Mack got the job.
Yeah.
Funny, that was the year after that we played Ballymena in the League Cup final. And by the way, I've never won that game to end this in my life.
Oh, really?
I was so nervous that extremely. Even the build up to it, the press at home in Ballymena was sort of doing, coming into my
boys sort of thing.
Into my school. I work in 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵, which is they're all Ballymena mad and good lads all over the match, great fellas, with pupils, and they were getting me to wear my Carrick shirt, and then all our pupils had Ballymena shirts and Ballymena. So the build up to it was as big as it could get in terms of Ballymena area.
Yeah.
And the day of the match, it was 5:30 kickoff. It was later at night on Sky.
It's on Sky.
Just couldn't see that day at all. Just on aid, a cat on a hot tin roof. And I was just like, I just cannot wait till like 7:45 whenever this match is over. Then you get to enjoy it. I think it was close against Ballymena. So all my mates, everyone I knew was in the crowd supporting Ballymena. I'm a Ballymena fan myself, and we had a great chance at the beginning of the match to take the lead. I was thinking, I want to win so much. I really do. The nerves in my stomach were as bad as I've ever felt playing a game of football. I was sort of, after the match, it wasn't even disappointment, it was just like relief. That game's over. Even if we didn't win, the game's over. And then after that, Aaron left, and Mitch was the assistant manager. Mitch, he took it on. We stayed up that year. And then a new manager came in, Davy Mack. And that was, when Davy came in, actually, I was going to sign for Ballymena again. Davy Jeffries rang me and said, look, Mark, we can have a chat. But him and Brian McLaughlin had a chat about signing. And I rang Palmer, rang Mum and Dad and said, I want to sign for Ballymena again. They're like, oh, brilliant. And see, the more I thought about it, Mark, I was like, what am I doing? I'm 30, coming 32 here. I don't want to spend what could be the last year or a couple of years of my life sitting on a bench or being a squad player and going and playing. Now at 32, going and playing for reserves every Wednesday night, and then training Tuesday, Thursday, maybe not in the squad on a Saturday, going playing for reserves. I wasn't giving up. Wasn't saying I wasn't good enough to play, and I could have played most Saturdays. Not saying I couldn't, but that was the worst case scenario. Whereas I was going down to Carrick. Davy McLinden said to me, Mark, want to continue on as captain. So I felt as if I could be a big part of something down there, as opposed to a smaller part of Ballymena.
Yeah. See terms when you're playing Ballymena, what's it like in terms of, do you get abuse or the battery, or because I know the fans can be a bit rough in there, and that's the handling.
Generally, no. You usually get Sergi a skinny B. I don't think you'll get that anywhere. I mind playing when I taught in 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 down in Rathcoole. Yeah. In 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 High for 4 years. I went to play Linfield, and there was this wee section of the crowd, and I looked up, and it was must have been like our 4th years and 5th years, but all their mates and all. It was, Sergi is a wanker, Sergi. Looked up, that's all like the kids I taught in school. I was like, what's going on? Ballymena is just not as bad as that. You do get there's a wee group in the middle, you know who they are. It doesn't matter if you scored a hat trick, but you play one bad pass, you need hung. That's the way they see it. But no, generally good. The banter's good in school. And especially next year, 2-1.
That keeps it all right.
But it's friendly.
That's the main thing. See, in terms with Carrick, then you did eventually you dropped out of the Premiership, and then 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 and that took over. That first year in the Championship, start off it was a bit of a struggle. Did it take a few games to get up to speed of the Championship again, or?
Niall, I was wrapping up after we got relegated. I always said I would. So if we got relegated, I'll wrap it up. Not that I think I'm big time to play the championship. Just I don't know. I can't get myself up for towards the end of the season before the season we got relegated. Towards the end of it, I was going and playing the match on Saturday, but couldn't get myself up for it. You know, I wanted to win, yes, but I wasn't like on edge, buzzing like I'm out here want to win this match. So it was just sort of another Saturday. You know, same thing, right here, play a match, win, lose or draw. After it, we lose, disappointed, yes, win, yet happy, but never hadn't that same buzz in my belly. And then Niall came in and said, look, want you to stay on, Mark, we're coming back up here. It's a long shot, but, you know, get sort of a squad together. I them through this revolving door of players and managers doing my head in. Like, for 3 seasons prior to that, we played with 60 odd players and 4 different managers, and I'm going like, what sort of, there's no sustainability here. What am I doing? You're not doing it for yourself. You're not making mates. You're not making friends. You're not going through anything. And so we started that league season under Niall, and he brought in a great bunch of lads and good backroom staff, and an absolute shocking start. Horrendous. I thought, what is going on here? It's crazy. You know, don't know what's going to happen. I think we lost our first match against the Welders 1-0. Mind that well. I had a really gammy neck. Nothing hurt my neck. Looking at the checking if it was coming into my neck and creep my neck and turn the match to grab them. Hit at a ball in the 60th minute, and that was the end of me. It's gone. That's how I mind that game well. And we lost 1-0, and then I think I missed the next game through injury with my neck again. I think did Dundela beat us 5-0 or something? Somebody tanked it. Dundela beat us 5-0. I said, Jesus. And PS9 would beat us. And then we just went on a run. And see, during that run, Mark, no one was beating us. Like, I think we lost 3 of our first 4, then lost 3 from the end to the end of the season. And one of those against Larne, they beat us once, we beat them once. They beat us twice, maybe we beat them once. Yeah. We lost against the PSNI later on, and we lost against someone else. But we were flying. We just felt as if going to a match, right, we'll win this next match, win this next match. And we're going, you know, the old, if we finish top 6, came from the management squad, you know, staff. If we finish top 6, we'll overachieved. And we're going, no, like we could go on, like we can get close here. Larne were runaway leaders, and it was ourselves and Portadown and someone else. And then we got into the playoff. We had played Portadown twice in like 4 weeks. We played Portadown the week before we played the playoff against Portadown. So Niall put out like a sort of like, all people in the fringes and sort of Portadown.
Yeah.
Then we played those 2 games against Portadown. Because again, we didn't even play that well. We just sort of had their number. I sort of knew we're going to win this. You know, we're going to win this playoff match. That's a one-off match at our place. We played the week before. I know they had some great chances, but we beat them. And then that was in that Tuesday night. No, Saturday. Friday night, I can't remember. But we played, and then we went straight into the 𝐼𝐻𝐿 game on the Tuesday night, and we were shattered. Yeah. And we were brittle, and you could just tell, so leggy, and we won it 1-0 somehow. No, 𝐼𝐻𝐿 pulled off like 12 worthy saves, and we beat 𝐼𝐻𝐿 1-0. And then down there, we got a new release of life, and I think they deserved winners. Back up. Here we go, another year.
So in terms of for when Niall had got you were obviously saying you saw top 6, you will be doing well. When you got into the Premiership, then was he going just avoid relegation, or did he have a plan to let's push as high as we can here?
What Niall says outside the changing room and what Niall says inside the changing room is 2 different things. All managers are the same. It's a sign of good management. But Niall's had clubs and kept clubs comfortably in the league, like 𝐼𝐻𝐿, and he took the Portadown job at the time because he lived next door to it. It was never the job for now, never the job for anybody. That club was comfortable. No one was going to keep them. He sort of moved because he felt he was obliged to support Portadown. He's a Portadown lad. But Niall's good pedigree in there. It's like real good pedigree. And he said, boys, look, with this squad of players, we add a couple, we'll be all right. We'll be safe. You'll stay up. That was always the mantra. We stay up. Yeah. You could tell as things were going on through the year. You sort of knew there was more confidence within our team. And we're beating all the teams around us. So we sort of felt as if we're better than those that are around us, we'll be comfortable. But we still do the nucleus of that squad this year. We have real good team spirit, good mix.
Yeah. In terms of, so what it ended up with the points we gave you, I think you finished 8th, is it?
8th, well, where we were. But it's a great season. That's a correct test finish, I think, in a lot of years in the Irish League. And as I say, Niall's a shrewd man. You know, it's people have this perception, and don't get me wrong. Like, you rocked in the train another night with a skin fade. You're at the age of 50, you know, and that's what people see. But now, Mark, there's no doubt about that. You know, people see that with Niall going, the bleached blonde hair. You know, that seen him on a night out wearing his flipping big hot jeans, like horrendous flares, horrendous. But people have this perception of what they see of Niall until you actually. So did I. Not saying that's why I never signed for him, but the guy always this, you know, he's an absolute bluffer. You know, he's you know, a maverick. He's just willy dilly. There's more to him that meets the eye. Yeah, you see him the change the way he talks to people, man management. You know, he's got a bit of class about him. But now I would always like you to think what you do think about now. That gives him the upper hand, and I think that's. I joke about him. I always say to him, "Takes a wise man to act the fool." You know, and that's sort of Niall loves that. You know, I think he's on about it. Underneath, I've got things in motion, and I'll be all right. Look after number one. But no, and he has built a good team and a good team spirit. Back in stand too.
Yeah, because you've took a few scalps this year. You've beat Cliftonville, beat Stuff Glenavon 6. Ballymena, and took a point off the Glens too. I think the point off the Glens was when they were flat, just close to the Olympic game, wasn't it, as well? So they were flying.
And they probably give us our biggest doing over. They beat us 2-1 or 3-1, but they battered us, absolutely battered us. Them and Larne, the two teams that have, battered us football wise. It's a different brand. I felt like a different brand of football in Irish League, and you were just chasing shadows. But it's funny, we hadn't even achieved too much against the teams above us. A couple of scalps, but we were more impressed with how we were putting away the teams below us. And that was how we knew we were going to be safe. And even going to play the Warren Point absolutely stole points off us. We felt really confident against even Ballymena. Like we felt we were a better team than Ballymena, but we were a better team than Ballymena. Maybe not better player for player, but we felt as if we're a better team than Ballymena. So going to play them, we were pretty confident. And Glenavon, the night they beat us at Glenavon 1-0 maybe. Yeah, we absolutely hammered them. That was our best performance of the season. But no, we felt as if we were well take the league on this year in terms of not do more than stay up. We top 6, I think, the split of the league. It'd be hard to jump into that top 6 as it stands, but finish the top of the bottom league was sort of our aim after November, December time. Yeah. So we're confident enough.
No, very good. So in terms of the next year plans, that will be probably maintain that and try and succeed it again.
Aye, but tougher again next year. People are going to strengthen. Money's not going to be there, so there's going to be the rich get rich and the poor get poor. That'll be the way it will be next season. And that'll be hold your own. Same again, stay up. Once we that sorted, then make new plans, but stay up. We only can. Like, we've put us in the league, but the club's building other wee things. The club's really trying to grow. Like putting a gym in, new change rooms in. They're trying to do a lot. Stadiums picking up or maintain more pitches. They're trying to bring it on a bit. So they're trying their hardest behind the scenes. You have to be part of that, I think. Even with the way youth football's going, Mark, there's a lot of one of the teams, if you're associated with a NIFL team or the Premier League teams, you only play in that league. I'm not sure if that you could correct me in that. But if you want to play in the top league, if you want to play in the top league in the country as a youth team, you have to be sort of connected to one of their league teams.
Yeah, I think under 16 or something like that, they're trying to bring in like a NIFL league. Don't know if it is in place now at the minute. Under 15 is just National League, but the NIFL league will be, you have to be an Irish League side to get into that.
And I already know like youngsters who are leaving good clubs, who are coaching them well, to go and play purely because this team plays in the NIFL league. You know, and that matters a lot to clubs if you're trying to build an academy. So us staying in the Irish league's big for the academy as much as it is for ourselves.
Yeah, killer for me as a coach, but it's I think a good thing for the country itself if they have a proper top league.
Simon Smith, Ballymena. He's Ballymena Youth Academy. Simon Smith, you ever met him? No, big baldy head fella.
He used to be a goalkeeper, didn't he?
Did I?
I know of him, if you know what I mean.
Great fella. He's tried his hardest, along with a lot of other ones down at Ballymena, but they're losing players now purely because they're not in the NIFL League. Yet last season they were playing ahead of teams who are now into the NIFL League. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's for another conversation.
Well, I think it makes sense in the long run, really. If you're having
it does.
A proper youth league, it has to be Irish League clubs in it.
Yeah.
But terms for yourself, Mark, terms over the years, now this might be a useless question for you, saying you can't remember things, but who's the toughest one that you would be up against every week in, week out?
Funny you mentioned that. I was asked that question recently by Carrick media side. So
yeah,
the best player and toughest opponent would be two different things. Davy Rainey for Crusaders was toughest opponent. Remember we played Crusaders at Ballymena under Walker, and Walker said Davy Rainey will only shoot with his left foot. I thought, right, he said, don't be jumping in, don't be diving in. And he at the showgrounds, he went to shoot with his right foot, 19, 20 yards out. And I thought, there's no way he's not shooting here. So I'm hook, line, sinker, big block, and he just checks back inside and bends his thing at the top corner of his left foot. And I was like, for flips, nice me go get up and drop or something here, something. Yeah. But not even for that, he had quality head, feet, but also see his movement. He's still playing, I think, for the Welders. Yeah. Never give you a minute. Ran, hurried. He was a smashing player, or a really tough opponent. Rory Donnelly was at Cliftonville. I think they beat us 7-2 one night.
Yeah.
Liam Watson played for us, no Winger Watson.
Yeah.
For DC a bit.
Yeah.
Everybody says Liam was steaming playing that match. He been at a Gaelic gig the night before, and Walker put him beside me at centre half, and they were 5-0 up inside about half an hour, 4-0 up inside half an hour, and Rory Donnelly got 4 of them. I think the following week I moved to Swansea, so he needs to give Liam Watson a pat on the back for that move. He's back now to the fans.
But God was satisfied.
Games in that time, at half time, I was sitting down. I was absolutely livid. Sitting down going. And Walker said to me, Walker was under pressure this time. And Walker said to me, he says, what's wrong with you, Serge? I said, got it, so we're down. He says, I said, what's going on? What's wrong? I said, well, to be honest, I've got too many balls into the box. He said to me, so you're blaming Lee Colgan and Michael Smith? And Michael was sitting this side of me and Lee was sitting here. He was, so you're blaming your mates? I said, I'm not blaming anybody, Roy. I'm just saying I'm pissed off. Like, I'm not happy. And I said, F this. I got my boots off. I said, that's it. He goes, going to what, Sergey? See, this was 10 or 15 years ago. Have you pinned against those showers in there? What was full on, foam right here?
Yeah.
I've never seen that side of him really getting really, really angry. I can't do that to people. And I was like, he's been deadly serious. I said, I'm not going out. That's that. And he took Liam Watson off. So I played on midfield, I think, maybe. I'm going to the first half. But he took Liam Watson off and put me in at centre half. I'm not sure he got out of badness or, what he was at, but he put me in at centre half. And that was a shocking day. But Rory Donnelly at that time was flying. I've never met a boy hang in the air and head a ball. But there's been so many good players throughout the years that, you say Spike, but I never met him in his element. There's Joe Gormley's and Boyce's and stuff like that there. But for me, year on my time playing the Irish League, probably Davy Rainey.
Yeah. Great. In terms of grounds in the Irish League, what would be the standout of where do you, apart from the obvious of the Windsor, where would you go? I want to play there every week.
Windsor's class though. When you're walking behind Windsor, I can see why people want to play for Linfield to get that feeling of walking into like the likes of an Anfield or Old Trafford. You have that just sheer size. Mm-hmm. I love the oval pitch. Their change rooms are a disgrace, but I love the change rooms. You let your dog lie in them. And back in the showgrounds, people don't think it's the running track around it. But like for me, the changes are big, and again, I love going to Ballymena Showgrounds. Like even this year, going there, not because I live 2 miles away, but it's a lot of good grounds. Mournview's a great pitch. You get, things going and big crowd. But no, Showgrounds for me. Love Ballymena Showgrounds.
Okay. And who would be the best player you'd say you've played with?
Hard positionally. Like throughout my career, one thing that's probably hurt me has been versatile. I think under Walker, I played every position apart from left back.
Yeah.
So who I've played with, probably through overall, Michael Smith, I think, have to stand out. It's funny, my first game against Michael Smith was Chimney Corner against Ballyclare, and Mum still has a picture of it up in our living room. We had remember we had an old Navy kit.
That kit came up on my Facebook or on Twitter the other week, and the yellow patches and all that, fucking hideous.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was at that time, it was 3 stones soaking wet, and that kit. Ballyclare's never wanted to wear white. I think wearing 5s, I was too big for me. There's a picture of me tackling Michael Smith. Now, Mum's had it up since I played, even way before Michael even joined Ballymena. Mum has it in a wee frame. It was one of my first games for Chimney Corner. But she had it up, and as fun as looking back at that, Michael Smith I'd never, like, and his story too is a good one, where he played for Ballyclare for a couple of years, then Ballymena, and then across he went, just like up and up and up. But you never met a fan just did nothing wrong. It wasn't as if he did anything special, just never done anything wrong. Never misplaced the pass, never got the ball taken off him, never, he just was always just Mr. Consistent. He had 8 out of 10 every week. And he got his move across the water, and now he's in full international. You can see that people, he's a trust in him, but no, just a different class act. He wasn't the most exciting player I've ever played with, or most skillful, or scored the most goals, but in terms of just being a class act, it's probably Michael.
Yeah. And then we'll finish off with this one, but in terms of, you've been through a lot of change rooms and things like that, what would you say is one of the funniest stories you've seen and you've came across in football?
In the change room? The one we all love was that, the one happened last year. It's happened in all change rooms. Gaffer was giving us I don't know who it was who played. Gaffer was giving us a rollicking after the match. Maybe it was Warren Point to beat us 2-1, scored 2 goals in the 91st, 95th minute. He was seething, the whole place was down, but he was sort of, he wanted us to look at him. So we're always at him, he's going through, not going through, just putting the words right. And our goalkeeping coach Lee Wilson leant against the shorehead. And everyone absolutely got it. Trying their best not to laugh because it's quite serious, but he's standing looking right at Gaffer from maybe a metre away, and he's leant against the shorehead. He's absolutely drenched. Now, no one mentioned it at the time, and no one laughed at the time, but the Tuesday night after that was all we mentioned. That's really funny. But in the change room, we were playing Crusaders one time, and I think they beat us 5 or 6-1, 5 or 6-0, humiliating under Spike. And Spike had went through us, and there was not mentioned he was a player, a magic team was sitting in the change room after. Absolutely, those spitting feathers. And one of our players, who's an absolute maniac, a hell of a player, after Spike had went through us all, disgrace, should be playing for this club, absolutely embarrassing. Everybody's just sitting there, contemplating life. The worst walking out of here, what we do. Yeah. On the way to the showers was one of the coaching staff sitting there, spitting feathers, and one of the players walked past with his dick and hit him a slap in the head with it. It's absolutely erupted. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And he went for the player, and the player was like, I was like, it's the wrong time, wrong place. Like, and the noise was just like, I was like, oh. The whole place absolutely erupted. The same player actually against Linfield was left out of the squad, and Spike had named the team. And he turned around and says, Spike, where the fuck do you get that team a lucky bag? And just walked out. And the whole team was like, better still, the same player, that's what it's going to be just done. only have to mention your team in a wee minute. The same, we went to, every year there's a team in Rotterdam called 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻,
Right.
invite an Irish League club over. So we went to Crawley, played Ballymena on a Friday night and flew out to Rotterdam on the Saturday morning. And we got there and all the boys went out for the night out, and whatever. Next morning, Spike had tried to play a prank on one of this player. But some girl had called the hotel, claiming that he'd been with her all night. But he took in a fake name and a fake phone number. But Spike put it in his jacket pocket and went home. And his wife was washing his jacket. Spike had to try and explain to the wife why he's a fucking Dutch name in his pocket with this number on it in Rotterdam. That was purely innocent, you know. But you imagine trying to go home from Rotterdam to your wife why you have a number of some Dutch girl in your pocket. He told us on the Tuesday night, and we were like going, "Hey, like, did she believe it? We'll ring her if she didn't believe it because we know it's only a joke."
Yeah.
Boys, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. That was tough for us. You know, it definitely was tough. But, you know, it didn't change. There's probably a million things you can't remember. There's been lots of like funny things, even when people argue with the manager and saying the wrong. You know, there's been lots of things that happened to change them. I remember one time 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 kicked. Was it the water bottles at Windsor? Whenever they had the porta cabins when the new stand was getting built, they kicked the water bottle. One flung just missed me. Physio. He's about 6'4" and built the size. His back inside the gable wall of my house. I just missed Big Stevie's head. And I always wondered to myself, imagine that ball hit Stevie when he went for gas. Gas did a double kick after he kicked it, so he thought it was going to hit Stevie. Sort of shit himself for a minute, thinking, well, where's this going? But then just the other ones, I mean, the manager calling out player, you're going to end up at flipping, falling backwards third, you don't get your finger out your hole, one of those, you know. Then seeing boys' fate, the boys laughing in the background, not knowing where to look. Just change rooms are magnificent places, Mark. You won't ever. That's my biggest fear about leaving football. It's not that I'll miss the football, I'll miss the camaraderie amongst the change rooms, because they're a good laugh, and you have so many different characters from all walks of life that you may or may never meet the likes of again. I've met some absolute rockets who I've never met in normal life. I've met some lovely chaps I still stay in contact with. I'm still staying in contact with the rockets too, because they're good fun. You meet mates for life. You meet, you know, just nights out and everything with them. I remember there's a player. He thought he had St. Patrick's night off training. He interrupted training. He didn't turn up on Boxing Day as well. One time we were playing 𝐄𝐏𝐈𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, Ballymena 𝐄𝐏𝐈𝐻, and Walker rung him about 1:45, 1 o'clock. Where are you at? He said, "We match definitely on." He just seen the weather outside and cleared it off himself, you know. And see it, not her. And, you know, them post pictures up about him sitting with his mates drinking WKD in the house. But we went to team night out one night with Ballymena, and like the quietest fella ever, never spoke. I mean, never spoke, change rooms, matches, anything, but an absolute wonder player. And we came outside Lavery's, and there he was, standing with a fag in the mouth, pissing into a bin with a bottle of beer in his hand. And we all have those mates in football, you know, they're quiet, don't ever speak, but then a team night out, they absolutely lose the plot, then I'm going to arrest it. One of those, yeah. But absolute legend of a fella, but just his own wee way of thinking of the things, and just it never made sense.
No, you always get them no matter where you go on the team. You just surprise rockets. But that will do it. Wrap this there, mate. So thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
Really appreciate it, mate. Top job.
Enjoyed it, Mark. Take care of yourself.
Yes.